Good evening. Welcome to the RSU 14 Wyndham Raymond School District Board of Directors meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. It is 6:30 and we are in Raymond. May I have a call to order, please?
Sure. Kate Bricks.
Here.
Kate Levier.
Here.
Jessica Bridges.
Here.
Jenny Butler.
Here.
Mike McClellan.
Here.
Shar Jewell.
Here.
Marge Gavoni.
Here.
Scott McLean. Al Potter.
Here.
Pete Hensler.
Here.
Excellent. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
We do not have any adjustments to the agenda tonight.
Okay, excellent. We will move into public input, an opportunity for the public to comment on items not on the agenda. If you would please come to the podium and state your name and the town that you live in. And again, we want to remind everybody that we are limiting it to 3 minutes per person. So who would like to be first?
Hello, my name is Jed Bloom. I live in Saco. I'm a teacher here at Jordan Small Middle School, and I just wanted to share some of the great things that are happening at our school. I wanted to first say that both the boys and girls basketball team won last week at Durham, which I wanted to give a shout out to them. Shout out to Coach Beers for the girls team, and shout out to Coach Wing for the boys team. I also wanted to talk about some of the stuff we're doing in 6th grade science. I'm just really impressed with the curiosity that the 6th graders here at Jordan Small have. Every lesson seems to end with 5 kids following me down the hall back to homeroom asking me questions about how the earth was created and how, just like where rocks come from and how rockets get into space. And we have a really curious group this year. I'm really proud of them, and I'm just impressed with all of the parents at Jordan Small Middle School. This is hard. I have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader, or a 1st grader and a 2nd grader, sorry, and it's very challenging to do what we're all doing, working and raising kids in this. So I just want to shout out all the parents of Jordan Small Middle School. And we do a lot of projects. I'm currently working with the 7th grade social studies group on a decades project where kids are learning about the history of different decades in American and world history, and they're building artifacts and presentations. And a kid today, he built an electric guitar from scratch. Wow. and he played it today, and it was so cool. I wanted to bring it in, but I wasn't sure what the prop situation was. So I didn't bring it in, but there's a lot of cool things. A 1960s house in miniature with just very, very cool wallpaper. And we're just a lot of good projects in general. And so I want to thank the administration at Jordan Small Middle School and in RSU 14 for allowing us to do all these cool projects and have just a really good school year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Carrie Grant. I'm a resident in Wyndham. And I was approached by a student and asked if I would read some concerns that she had. So I'm just going to read exactly what she wrote. Being a student at Wyndham Middle School, I see posters in the hall of things that should not be brought into school. However, in one class, it is brought too far. We read books and do projects targeting police officers and focusing on topics of people associating as a different gender or feeling their culture is left out. In these 2 sentences, I assume you are thinking, that's not CRT, and that's what most people originally think. But I'd like to tell you what really happens inside the classroom. In this classroom, the only thing I am feeling I am benefiting from is vocab and analyzing text structure. These are both incredibly important skills to have, but we have been doing this since we finished our narrative writing pieces, which was towards late September. I feel this is becoming very claustrophobic, and this is all suffocating. I wish we could sit down and have a lesson that helps me grow as a writer and a reader. I hope this will one day be possible. These books also give a big presence of good and evil, and I understand there is good and evil in this world, but should evil really associate with such kind and funny people like our very own school officer, Officer Sear? In the book Ghost Boys, a white cop shoots a black boy. This implies that cops are bad. This topic and her political beliefs are being pushed in the classroom. What she is making us think is that wonderful people like our own school officer, Officer Sear, has done nothing to help create a strong and safe environment for kids to thrive. School, instead of being a learning experience, has become School, instead of being a learning experience, has become divided because of opinions that shouldn't be brought to school. Part of this reason is the students, but also some irresponsible adults bringing political opinions and topics into the classroom, and they continue through what they teach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Middle school, so I think 8th grade?
No, sixth.
6th grade, sorry.
Sixth grade. I have an example of some of these books. I know some person that wanted to see some concrete examples of
Sir, if you wouldn't mind your name and where you
Ken Clark.
Thank you.
So, went to the library, got a couple books. These are the ones in the classroom. I didn't have to get too far before I found some things that, again, these topics might be okay for people who are adults, get to watch news from both sides, and have an understanding there are two sides to everything. This book is based on a true story. It's in Oakland, California. Top of the first paragraph. Again, I have nothing against gay people. I plow some driveways. I have clients that are gay. I have one is a black person, one is a Chinese. They have split the driveway. Hang out with them, wave to them, do the car. So if I say this, I don't want to be anyone to be offended. I talk to, nothing wrong with it. It's fine. But when it's pushed on kids at 11 years old, there's a problem. I have a problem with it. So, Oakland, California, first sentence, top of the page, it has more lesbian couples per capita than any city in the nation, and one of the largest populations of gay and lesbian-headed households. Oakland City is also a stark contrast to 2013. Oakland ranks 7th among the cities in income inequality, just below New York. Its per capita rate of violent crime made it second most dangerous in the American city, but its still citizens paid some of the highest taxes. Again, this is for 11-year-olds to try to relate all this stuff. Then we go on to this chapter's pronouns. And let's see. And in this one, they talk about the English language works differently. We care a lot about gender, and English reflects that in its pronouns, he or she, or he, him, or hers, or his, poses a challenge for some people, like Sasha, who don't see themselves as fitting neatly into either or categories, like male or female. Like Sasha, so many gender non-conforming people want to be referred by the pronoun they. They may feel awkward at first, but we'll all get used to it. I just think it's a little much. And when we got this material in the school, I wonder, do we know what the dropout rate is of the people that go to Oakland, California? Do we know what their GPA is? If it's not good, or if it's not setting a high bar, why are we trying to have our kids emulate what they do? I'm concerned for these folks, but I don't think maybe a lesson can be learned from what they're trying to put on the kids is not good, and they need to be thinking positive thoughts and not just focusing on each other. This was a book that was referred to. This is about a white cop who shoots a black kid. Terrible thing. It's awful. But to be fair, there are a lot of people, a lot of colored people who execute cops sitting in their cop car. So this kid had a toy gun.
I'm sorry, sir, your time's up. I know you'll
I'm going to read the last. I'm going to read the last. I'm going to read the last part.
I know you'll be respectful.
No, they are rules over and above, and I have the right to speak. I seriously do. I think it's funny.
You do not have the right to speak.
I repeat, doubling over, laughing.
Sean,
We're both
would you turn off
swearing
the camera,
hysterically.
please?
I gulp air. I am less scared, still nervous, but less scared. And it's smart. He got a toy gun into school because it was plastic. So.
Before we proceed, I think I've made it really clear that we are allowing 3 minutes. I know you'll be respectful of these rules, just as we are respectful sitting here listening to you. Sean, you can turn it back on now.
But before you do, you didn't answer all the emails that I sent you, which you said you would. So you're not playing by the rules, Jake.
Sean?
Thank you for speaking.
You're welcome.
Could you check, please? Oh, we don't see it on the screen.
I don't think it's been on the screen.
It hasn't been on the
It
screen.
hasn't been on.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yep.
Who's next?
Hi, my name is Ken Anderson, and I wanted to just go over a few of the questions that I had last time regarding the core belief system of the statement of the plan of RSU 14. And during the last time together, Chris, you gave your answer to my question about RSU 14's new core belief or strategic plan. And during that time, you gave me the answer that there were groups of people involved in the drafting of the plan. Now, I understand that. That was in the literature, along with the plan. But my question is not about the human authors that were involved. My question, and this is for Kate as well, I understand you were on the board that produced and formed the framing of the strategic plan. Who I know, some of us may be familiar with the definition of religion and some may not. This is critical to how we understand our view of the world and by which lens we are looking through. Religion is the study of habits and behaviors of humanity. Now, I can make a religion out of anything and open a church based on my belief that all cats have 9 tails. My question is, by what source or sources did you arrive at the core of your belief, which makes up the strategic plan? And in order that you have a better understanding of the question, I need to ask it in a couple different ways. Are the beliefs that each member of the drafting of the plan hold Christian beliefs, Eastern religion beliefs, Buddhist religion, Islamic religion, secularism, new spirituality, and I could go on and on. Where do you get the values and principles from that formed your decisions in order to frame this document? Is those questions pretty clear? I ask this because the fact that critical race theory has made its plunge into our public school systems is alarming. This plan at its core is Marxism, straight out of the Communist Manifesto, which believes that humans are products of nature and therefore matter in motion, and hopefully growing in their class consciousness, which informs a totalitarian morality. Marxism says that what is wrong with us is the economy and those that exploit it, namely property owners, capitalists. It further goes on to describe that we should all be working toward the state ceasing to exist by developing socialism, and getting the workers to revolt against all oppression. So my ultimate question is, where do you get the core of your belief, not from an authorship standpoint, but
Thank you, Mr.
where is it derived from?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you all.
Anyone else?
Start my timer yet. My name is Dr. Robin Frost. I'm going to talk really fast because that gavel scared the heck out of me.
I've never used it before, honestly. Go ahead.
Wow, police present should have been here for that. I just wanted to say that I did email Mr. Howell 3 emails, and one of them was in regards to a parent saying that he quoted that if we weren't masking our children, that the CDC would shut our school down. So I would like to have proof from the CDC that that's the case. Second question I had, an email, and I have to go fast, is that I need documentation on where you actually posted and made aware to the community or the parents that there were requirements for these grant applications and criteria that had to be met prior to applying for these grants. Third, I asked the question of what kind of health privacy laws do our children have? How are they protected? Are they protected by HIPAA, or there's something else that protects them? And so I'd like to say just a couple of quotes from the children that wear masks, but also prior to that, I'd like to really quickly say I really feel sorry for also. My compassion goes out to the teachers and the people in the building, because they have become mask cops and not educators, and that's a shame. And so the quotes are that I'm constantly asked to be out in the hall because I'm not wearing my mask above my nose, and I'm going to be sent to the principal office. Second quote, I can't bring my water bottle into the classroom because I'm taking too many drinks of water because my mask is below my nose. Third, I need to pay 25 cents if my mask is below my nose. 4, if I don't wear my mask above my nose, then I will be forced to wear an N95 mask. These can go on and on and on and on. So I sent in September a letter of liability that I'd like to read and make sure it's community known. This was sent via certified mail. And understand this was sent to the people that voted for masking and CC to Mr. Howe. As a government official, your decisions affect the lives of others. You may, however, be mistaken believing that government officials you are afforded qualified immunity de facto for decisions you make. This is not true. The courts have ruled school boards cannot avail of qualified immunity if you are aware of harm or even potential harm that may result from the decisions. When it comes to masks, you guys all have been given scientific information and abstracts if you could not read the entire paper yourself. You now have been notified and given scientific evidence. You cannot therefore avail yourself of qualified immunity if my child or any other child gets hurt. This means an individual, you'll be held personally liable, sued if our children are harmed from masks. To be clear, you will have to get your own attorney and defend your own claims brought against you. Therefore, take personal liability for your decisions. At minimum, I request you appeal the decisions on mandating these masks. There are other options, and we know there are other options, and we need to look at that. Because we are not only having a problem with our children, but our teachers and that staff in that school are not having a good time. And I appreciate, maybe we should all go to Jordan Small, because that was really great. It made me happy. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak?
Hi everybody, I'm Stephen Napolitano, and I need to go as quickly as I can. I'm really disappointed in how the meetings are run in regards to communicating with the parents and grandparents and folks that come here. We work hard during the day or at night or wherever our jobs are, just like you. Appreciate the time that you spend on this as well. But I went to a town council meeting last week, and they have a 3-minute limit, but they didn't cut them off at the end of their last sentence. And I just don't feel that's a good way to build a good, positive community. It's not a good example for our children either. The way it's set up, we have to email our questions. Sometimes we get responses, and sometimes we just get pushed back. I will give Mr. Howell kudos for responding. I know he's responding a lot, even responding for questions that are supposed to be from the board, which I don't hear from you, Kate, answering a lot of questions, and I'm disappointed. I hope that changes. We're getting delays for posting the replays online. Now they're posting the meetings on Google Docs or whatever it's called, so it's hard, we can't share it anymore. So each time we're trying to do stuff, I mean, why are the delays? Town council meeting posted it the second the meeting ended, it was online. Same gentleman down at the town hall that is doing this. So I'm getting the sense that you don't want to talk with us, okay? Adding a police presence, we still haven't got an actual, I did get the answer. Then the narrative was, there was a gentleman here in Raymond last time, and that's why the police were here. No, the police came prior to that gentleman coming here. So I was told that a couple of board members were scared and then they saw something online. It wasn't anything anybody here did. So I think it's too bad that we're paying a police officer. Workshop, it's been mentioned over and over and over again. I was even asked what type of topics to consider, and it would be agenda-based. And then I was just disappointed to hear you, Kate, write in an email that, what are we talking about? We're not doing that. When you, in fact, did say that you would look at it immediately after the holidays, and now we're staring into, what, we're in mid-January, and you're just not very positive about having a workshop with the parents. I haven't got an answer on the survey as far as why is the school going to continue to do the surveys with things like giving a definition of religion. And I'm offended by how the school defined religion, because I don't believe in gods. I believe in God. And I don't think that it's right for the school to take a position, even if you ask for opting out or not. Where's the separation of church and state? The Code Ethics Committee, we need one. I don't know why. The school board doesn't have it. We need one because we have a board member that has broken many code of ethic guidelines, and you need to put that in place. I wrote that in an email. I need to get a response from that, please. So I'm proposing that you put that together so we can protect the integrity of the school board. As far as the school being this, okay?
Thank you, sir.
There's that 3 minutes. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Kristen Day. I wish I could speak, but I got a lot to say. I got to read it. Yesterday, someone asked how I can keep going to school board. They'd be too angry. They'd be too frustrated. I said, I don't think it will change anything, honestly. But if I'm uncomfortable as a parent with what's happening in our schools, this board and administration doesn't get to be comfortable sitting in their seats of power without hearing our concerns about our district. I'm uncomfortable that it took 4 months, Chris, of back and forth and breadcrumbs of info for you to refer me to the Maine law that gives the CDC authority. That's all I've wanted since day one. The state of Maine control of notifiable diseases and conditions, Rule 10-144, Code of Maine Rules, Chapter 258. I'm going to give just a description of what it boils down to, because I don't think people in this district still understand the authority. If the Department of Health and Human Services declares a public health emergency, they can take action, which isn't limited, on public entities to protect public health. The DHHS declared it effective July 1st of 21 last summer, the day after Mills ended the state of emergency 6:30, so no break in coverage. And this public health emergency will end when the DHHS states it's over. No date of review like other states have. Notifiable diseases under this law that state entities have to report include coronavirus and in parentheses novel, MERS, SARS. So it seems to me the director of DHHS can by Maine law follow this formula again for any novel coronavirus and continue as long as they want. So our schools are literally being governed by a tyranny by definition. Char, you asked what would happen if we just stopped complying. Chris told me that he's not aware of exact consequences, but Section H of this law notes a process for failure to report notifiable diseases or conditions. I don't think we're going to find out. Granted, this is a Maine state legislative issue and we should all be paying attention, but as I've said, I've tried to find this answer since August, and I've now just lost trust that this administration has genuine intention toward transparency and good faith toward parents. The second thing I'm uncomfortable about, our school board. This board of 9 people is its own entity under the DOE, but has no consequences to their personal actions, no process to remove a member for any reason. Ours is a nonpartisan school board, yet Jenny Butler has acted as a partisan member. She clearly violated this board's code of ethics, which she might as well burn since there are no consequences attached, and the state's code of ethics. But no board action can be taken, and there's no Maine law to review this situation. And the best part, she refuses to resign because she doesn't have to. Jenny Butler's free speech is protected. In posting propaganda about white privilege, the very most dangerous tenet of critical race theory, to children, saying they should act and be treated based on the color of their skin.
Thank you very much. Anybody else before I close public comment?
I have more to say.
Hi, my name is Jamie McAlpine. I am a resident of Windham, and I'm also a special ed tech and the special ed secretary at the Windham Primary School. And I am also the president for the Raymond Windham Education Support Professionals Association. And I wanted to take a minute to share something amazing that our staff did. Our union put on a fundraiser for a member who had to retire recently due to some unfortunate medical things that she's going through that have gotten worse. And as a result, our union voted to hold a fundraiser for her, and I put it out to the staff in the district. And I wanted to share that this past weekend, we were able to give her a check for $1,035 to help pay for some of the things that she needs. I sent out an all-district email to staff thanking everybody, but I wanted to share with the board how incredibly proud of the staff that I am and our union is, because many people didn't know her and they still chose to donate and to help a fellow employee. And I just wanted to share how incredible that was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kevin Day, and I'm going to finish my wife's speech. Jenny Butler, I know you won't give up the power, but you have been exposed as harmful to the children of RSU 14. You may sit in that seat, but your reputation is forever tarnished. Here we have two governing entities in Maine that are directly ruling my children with zero checks and balances. What the heck are we doing? This kind of living is un-American. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that's my answer as to how I can keep going to school board meetings. There is a lot going wrong right now, and the only way to fix it is if we remind the powers to be that you work for we, the people.
Any final comments?
Hi, Mike Pasquini, Wyndham, Maine, 3 kids in the RSU 14. I'm just here to share some thoughts and comments from my kids, because that's why I'm here, for my kids. Both my daughter in 6th grade and my son in 8th grade have both shared the same sentiment with regard to masking police, so to speak, right? Their teachers constantly, one strike, it comes below your nose, you're gonna go to the office. You can't drink your water too much. My daughter keeps telling me she can't drink her water in class because she keeps getting reminded every time she takes her mask down. It's like she's on a Delta flight or something. But when is that gonna be addressed? Because again, before this whole vote from the school board to enforce masks, many people came to the table with data, with scientific evidence and proof that masks really are not effective, especially the cloth mask that everyone's wearing, that most of the kids are wearing because they're comfortable. They don't work. And now they don't work. We know they don't work because somebody on CNN said they don't work. They're facial decorations. So now that that's out there, when is this going to be addressed in the school? And I really hope sincerely that the answer is not N95 masks, restrictive breathing masks for children in the schools that you need to be fitted for, that you're not supposed to wear for longer than an hour, and you're supposed to change after every patient interaction, and very restrictive breathing. So my question is, when is that going to get addressed with the school staff, the faculty? When do we stop being mask police, realizing that they're facial decorations for now, especially for kids, because they're ineffective in nature and not worn properly? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Barbara Bagshaw, Wyndham. I just wanted to read something from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying the foundation of such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to effect shall seem likely to affect their safety, happiness, and prudence. Indeed, will dictate that the government's long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than the right to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when long trains of abuses and usurpations pursuingly invariable to that same object evinces a design to reduce under absolute despotism, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide a new guard for their future security. And, you know, my understanding is that government is here to protect our rights. And I really don't see the rights of the children or the parents being protected. And it breaks my heart. And I think we need to work harder to work together and figure out something. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Moving on to item 6, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time with my Superintendent's Report, actually talking a little bit about what I shared last week, which it's amazing how quickly things are moving at the moment and how quickly rules and regulations and things that we're required to follow as a district are happening for. So, number one, after a good 4 or 5 solid months of planning for a vaccine requirement to be put into place, and it was a vaccine requirement or gave individuals the ability to test out. U.S. Supreme Court ruled last week that will not be moving forward. So we did have
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, while he's giving the report, if you wouldn't respond.
So after a lot of work by RSU 14 people to make sure that things would be in place for when it actually happened, that will not be moving forward. So I know we had talked about it at last board meeting, so that part will not be moving forward. The other thing is, I think I had mentioned last time, and Scott, you asked the question, when single digits for changes to the SOP in number of weeks, what does single digits mean? Well, single digits actually probably was about 6 days later that we saw a change in the overall SOP, which did allow us as a district to forego contact tracing with schools that have universal masking. And, you know, we are starting to see, we did have quite a peak last week. I was actually just sharing with Al beside me, but just working this afternoon, taking my Excel spreadsheet, just tracking cases, and it's just amazing looking at our cases. And I know this is not just great for public consumption at the moment, but you can definitely see that we saw a little spike after Halloween. We saw a spike after Thanksgiving. We saw a spike after Christmas, and then after New Year's, things just really took off with we had 217 cases in the district last week. Just perspective, that was 159 all of last school year. So a tremendous amount of work by our health staff and our school administrators in following all the protocols that they're required to follow in order to be able to do that. So just first of all, a couple things I want to do is that, number one, we're already seeing this week that case numbers have dropped a little bit. So I'm hopeful that that is a direction that we're moving in and things will continue to drop. But I just want to say a big thank you to the staff of RSU 14. We had numbers of absences for different classrooms, different support positions, and as difficult as it was with the number of absences, people stepped up and they helped out and they covered classes and they made sure that we were able to stay open in other buildings. Wyndham High School, the case numbers grew so great that we weren't able to reopen and we were required to go remote last week. But just wanted to thank all of them, because it is difficult right now enough to do your own job, but when you're also looking to do other people's jobs in your building or in your area, and people did it, they were great about it, and they really worked to support each other. So again, I hope we've really reached that point where we're starting to turn the corner, where case numbers drop. We did change our format now. We're reporting out weekly. There's a spreadsheet that I have shared with all the nurses and the school administrators, so we can kind of keep a daily count. I know Danielle was in there today updating her numbers, but really looking like things are, maybe we've reached that other point and things are starting to drop off. Couple other things, notified yesterday that 2 of our solar projects went online. I know it was actually in this room in December that Aga Dixon came and talked about our solar agreements. I think we now have 4 projects that are now officially online and are generating electricity. We're starting to see some of our first rebates in electricity that's being produced. And just a reminder for the public, we were asked to join a very large solar consortium. We're 2% of the consortium. It includes LL Bean, Pratt Whitney, New Balance, the UMaine system, the community college system. And in essence, as our part of this, because we're a public entity, we could not take the tax credits, but the developers could then take the tax credits, sell them, and they were benefiting from it. But in part of that, though, we start to get electricity rebates. The original projection that when everything comes online that we'll be saving about $80,000 a year in electricity. Things look like we're going to still be hitting that target. We did have a couple projects that, due to finances through the pandemic, were not able to come online, but Competitive Energy, who did and brokered our deal, has now worked with a couple other companies. We may have some other projects. One of those projects that will be coming online at some point is one in Windham. And I'm hoping that we will have the opportunity as a 2% owner of that project. On paper, that will become an educational opportunity as well for our kids, because what a great opportunity to go and see not only a solar farm in your area, but a solar farm that your district partially owns and is producing electricity that is saving money for your district. So 2 went on. I think I'm just trying to remember the locations. One is in Heartland. I don't know where Heartland is. The other's in Unity. I do know where Unity is. So those came on. Madison Energy is the group that's producing that project. And then also, since I'm sitting next to my assistant technical director for Frozen Junior, Frozen Junior will be taking place this weekend, right? We've got a couple more shows coming up. But Al's doing a great job mentoring some of the middle school students that are involved in that. And I've heard really good things so far, so I'm hoping to be able to catch that this weekend as well.
All set?
All set.
Thank you. Board roundtable. Anyone have anything?
Yes. So I've been doing some reflection the last couple weeks since the last meeting, and seeing the emails that are coming through, and I was thinking about, okay, how did I get here today? So last spring, increasingly, I was hearing things in the news and different podcasts and talking to other parents and concerned citizens that across the nation there's been a sweeping effort of parents and citizens to start paying attention to school systems. And I know I've mentioned this before, but when the opportunity came available to join the school board, I was actually driving on my way to work, drove by the Raymond Town Hall, and it was on the sign, and I said, well, if not me, then who? So I threw my name in the hat, in the ring, and here I am. So one of the things that I truly believe is that for a very long time, us citizens of the United States of America have put our trust in government. We've put our trust in elected officials that we elect however often we are supposed to elect them. And as we've seen over the last 4 years, over the last 14 years, over the last 40 years, people that we elect don't necessarily do what they say they're going to do when we elect them. Part of that has led to the issues that we see in government today. And so that has filtered down into our school systems. So for too long, we have trusted government, and that has led to us abdicating responsibility of our children's education to people that we do not know. That's why I am here. It is past time parents and other concerned citizens become actively involved in the education of our children to work towards success for all. And so I thank all of the parents and concerned citizens that are coming to the meetings and sending emails. Thank you for becoming involved, and I encourage anyone else out there that has any concerns, and it doesn't matter your political affiliation. We as citizens need to pay attention to what our elected officials are doing, and not what the news is giving us in their sound bites that they handpick to push the agenda they want to push. People need to dig in and pay attention at all levels of government, from the school board to the select board of Raymond, to the town council of Wyndham, to our elected officials in Augusta, to our federal level. People need to start paying attention because we are on a very slippery slope in this country. And if we don't do something about it now, it's going to not be recognizable before we know it. One other note, Chris, I am a very close follower of the mandate that the SCOTUS just put down. It has been remanded to the 6th Circuit Court, so it is not a dead issue. Just FYI.
Anybody else?
Two things real quick. One is, so I have been on school boards before and been a state rep, and in the past, I've really tried to reach out to people, and I live in Raymond, and often we come to Raymond meetings and there's nobody here. So I think most of you are Wyndham people tonight. And when I was a state rep, I would literally invite people to let me know. I would put bills out, here's what we're doing, and I would never hear from, I was always, kind of following what you're saying, I was always stunned. I mean, teachers, administration, parents, everybody, and I just would never hear. So I guess I'm always surprised when I just never hear from anybody. You know, I know people email the board, but we're also individuals. So I just throw that out there. It just always stuns me, and for good or for whatever. And then the second thing is, I think as I sit here, and Char, I came in about 7 seconds before Char got here. And I've heard feedback, on the board and in the audience, and we've made some suggestions, and they haven't happened at this point. But I'm thinking a good suggestion, because one thing this board does do is we invite programs and educators. Okay, we had the gentleman tonight here. Maybe given all the content we're hearing, we should invite the teachers that oversee the civil rights team. That might be something really helpful for us to do. Have them come and hear more about how they do their thing. When I got here and I heard about the survey, I think happened literally as we got here, and I heard that the administrator forgot to send out notice. I thought, well, okay, that happens. I don't know the administrator, but I assume that happens. But I also know there were educators overseeing that process as well. So they kind of, posters on the wall and stuff like that. There are people that are aware of that. So maybe it'd be really helpful for us to have a conversation as a community with the civil rights team, whoever the people overseeing it are. And that's my two things.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Gentlemen, nothing? Okay. Let's move on to item 8, Manchester Elementary School Playfields and Access Road Project. Mr. Howell.
And I'm hoping that he will bring me online. There we go. So it feels like we're going to change gears here, but we're going to change gears here a little bit and talk about a project that Facilities Committee's been aware about, and I think the full board's been aware of this for probably 6 months now, 8 months now. And it's a project that looks like it's reaching some final stages and is going to be moving forward. And this is specific to some play field, a proposal for additional play fields at the Manchester School. I just wanted to, first of all, give the board some information tonight. The Wyndham Town Council is also in the process of taking up this discussion. What we're discussing tonight is a complete renovation of all the ball fields, play fields that exist around the Manchester School. And this is a project that is being designed by RSU 14, but is going to be bonded through the town of Windham. And so just want to give you a little bit, first of all, the history, and I did bring, of course, some visuals, and I was told that I needed to use this mic, which feels really awkward. I feel like I'm running a talk show right now. But I'll hold this up for the board. Christine can help me out with it. But back in, sorry Christine, I didn't mean to, but back in 2003, the town of Windham, which was then the Windham School Department, had looked at developing the fields and the woods that are to the far side of Manchester School. And the hope, it's my understanding, the hope at the time was that the RSU, actually the RSU, that the school department would have additional funds out of the high school project in which that they would have had $1.5 million to develop this set of fields. Never happened. High school had some overages with ledge and some other costs that existed within the building and also as the athletic fields are developed. So the project was shelved. Fast forward, and if anybody wants to come peek at that after Christine, I'll have to hold it up, I'm sorry. Fast forward to last year, where there's been a comprehensive study that's been going on with the town of Windham, looking at the bypasses and also looking at traffic in general for 115, 302. There was some discussion, thank you, Christine. There was some discussion about the proposed exit to Manchester School that never happened. Surprisingly, no one from the organization that was working with the town and helping to plan things forward, I'm going to transition over, knew about the playfield portion, nor did they know that at one time Manchester was planned to have a second exit onto 115. And talking with the town manager, who had multiple conversations with Little League Baseball, Little League Softball, and lacrosse groups, soccer groups, that there is a lack of playing fields in Windham. And so heard at the time, this was proposed, town was looking for open space to possibly develop, and so a discussion happened, what would happen if the town developed playing fields at Manchester for community use, with the understanding that they would be available for the school during the day, so they'd be school fields during the day, but afternoon they would then transition over to the town, and the town would take over scheduling and working with some of that. So it seemed like a good partnership, and we worked throughout the summer. Dwight Anderson, who works for Stan Tech, and anyone who's on the construction committee knows Dwight. He is our civil engineer for the middle school project, worked to draw up the plans. And in essence, this is what we're going to be doing. So first of all, project's built on a design proposal, Windham School Department 2003. Sue Gendron was superintendent. This was one of her proposals. Didn't happen because of financial concerns. In this plan, RSU 14 is not giving the land over. We are granting an easement, a development easement for the 20 years. And the reason why it's a 20-year is that the town is going to be putting considerable funds. Right now it's looking probably $1.5 million to $1 3/4. The town's financing it, but that's probably where we're going to be close to. We're developing the easement, so if the town's going to be putting in that much money, they obviously want to use it for the greatest length of time. What's kind of cool about this project, it's been developed jointly with the town, so RSU 14's civil engineer has actually been the one doing the work in the design. Again, town of Windham will be financing the project, and bonds for the project will be held by the town. So right now we're in the process of working on an agreement. The town needs this agreement because they cannot go out to bond unless they have a signed agreement from the RSU saying, yes, we agree to this, we're going to have things go forward. It's a great plan, and just for those of you who are not familiar with Manchester School, I'll come over here. This is Manchester School as we know it. Currently at Manchester School, there is a softball field that's kind of has a stone dust infield that has the outfield going outward, and that's it. You then drive to the edge of the parking lot and you have woods. There's actually a giant set of woods here. Patman's here, Amato's is here. This is 115 over on this side. So what this project will do is that, number one, it will take the existing baseball field or multi-purpose field and will rotate it. It will take the existing baseball field, and my understanding, I'm not a Little League aficionado, but pushes it to a regulation Little League fence. So it's the full, I think it's 200 feet, pushes that out. And in addition, so you have 2 regulation Little League fields, 2 regulation softball fields, and these are the parts that I love. Number one, a giant multi-purpose field. Can be used for Manchester, but also can be used for youth lacrosse, youth soccer, right here in the center of town. In addition, in fall season, you have this whole outfield area, which becomes a multi-purpose field for student use. For RSU 14, it's a great gift because, number one, we know that those, especially youth lacrosse, youth baseball, youth softball, is always looking for places to play, which puts additional pressure on the campus for playing fields. This now gives a dedicated space for those organizations for them to be able to play. So again, 2 regulation softball fields, 2 regulation baseball fields. One of the feedback items that I've heard from some of the Little League and the softball people is that we really can't host a tournament on the Wyndham side because we don't have fields that meet whatever regulations that are required in order to be able to do that. What's also exciting for Manchester in this project is the access road, which never got developed, going out to 115, now gets opened up, and this becomes a secondary point where you can drive in and egress out of the Manchester campus. We're also in the process of working with Stantec on upgrading our wastewater, not wastewater, but our waste disposal for stormwater throughout this entire parking lot, which looks like we'll be able to include as part of the project, which hopefully, and Danielle will love this, the old dirt area, which was the Arlington School, will get paved. So that we finally have a full parking lot that's over there to be able to do that. But just some interesting things that we've kind of learned through this process and just going over these maps. Number one, the RSU actually owns most of the parking lot for the church that's there. If you didn't know that or not, but most of that is RSU 14, including the road that goes out in front of the church. In addition, there's a meeting house that's here. I didn't realize that we owned all the land underneath that RSU 14 had that. And then in addition, we have our push, and then over to Spacito Road, which is on the far side of Manchester. In addition, we have some replacement of, there was a basketball courts out back, basketball courts here, and a proposed possible community ice spot at Manchester School. So really a nice change, because if you think about it right now, for what Manchester has, they have a baseball field, they have the back playground with a walking track, and they have this multi-purpose field, but none of this currently exists, and the egress, the additional fields, will make a huge, huge difference for that campus. So just kind of moving on, because this is what everybody wants to know, what's going to be the responsibility of RSU 14 and what's going to be responsibility for the town of Wyndham. So I'll start first of all for RSU 14. Whatever plans for fields and improvements, we have to approve what those plans are. And currently the document, which is the one board members you have in front of you, it's document 5D, is the document that's in the agreement. So we need to approve the plans, and so that's something you'll be doing as a board. The town will design and construct the fields and the access road to the specifications that we approve. So they design was ours, they build. It's going to be our responsibility to maintain and repair the parking lot, access roads to the fields, do the plowing and the sanding, much like we plow and sand the parking lots now. The town's going to have to maintain, repair, replace fields and improvements. It means they're going to be mowing it, be taking care of the day-to-day improvements of it. If things break or things aren't where they're supposed to be, that will be a town requirement. RSU 14 has sole use during regular school hours, and we'll define in the agreement 7 o'clock in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. Outside of those hours, the town will be maintaining the calendar for the use of that. And then the town will maintain insurance on it. We'll maintain insurance. It will be additional insured on both to make sure that we're protecting each other for any pieces. So right now, I think that's my last, I got a couple things. Right now, we're slated for construction, not this summer, but the following summer. So still be a year out. Just some other things about it. This is a 20-year agreement. At the end of 20 years, either party can cancel and say that we're done. Just remember, as an RSU board, you are not giving up title to this property. It's still your piece of property. Development easement covers playfields, roadway improvements, concept 5D. You have 5D in front of you. Any additional development would require a separate agreement. The board's aware, public's aware that there's some discussion about a sewer in North Windham. And it's a little bit of a different sewer system than I think the effluent systems that most of us, where everything goes to a regular open water sewage treatment plant, gets processed and goes into a river or some other place. Town of Windham is looking at a membrane system similar to the one that was built in Oxford, which an end product is pure water. I did have a chance to tour that facility one of the hottest days of the year. First of all, it didn't smell, and they offered us drinks of the water at the end, which I said no. But members of the tour did take the drink of the water, because in that case it goes right into the Little Androscoggin River. The town is looking at possible places that pure water can be injected back in. This agreement does not cover any of that. And that's a discussion point, because I know there's some question about whether or not Manchester soils would be a good spot to go underground. This agreement just simply is the ball fields. Marge, question?
Yeah, can you go back just one slide?
Yep.
On this agreement here, I think earlier there was discussion, and I thought, and I probably misunderstood, the parking area, there was a hope that the town was going to take care of the paving of that, and I don't see that on there.
So, as part of this project, this is where we're still working through some final things, is that it will looks like it's going to require an upgrade to our stormwater treatment plan for that particular parking lot, which will mean that in order for the town to complete this project, they'll have to do improvements to our parking lot, which then in essence will end up paving that.
Is that with the Portland Water District?
Yep. So that's a final piece that's still, before we sign, we'll get that clarified. Or I say before we sign, we'll get that clarified and done. But it definitely, and I know Danielle's dream is to have that dirt section at Manchester at some point paved.
Yeah, irrigation.
Yeah. And another piece that we worked in with the agreement, let's say 10 years down the road when all of us are gone, and we need to put an expansion onto Manchester School, and one of the baseball fields need to be moved or a softball field need to be moved. If it's in the 20-year period, the RSU would take care of moving that field to another location. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, because if it's a state project, the state would pay to have that field moved. If it's a locally funded project, we would need to find another location in town for that particular field to be done. But that's within the 20-year period. If at the end of the 20-year period you say, you know what, we're good, we need to use the space for building because it is a valuable piece of property, then we have the option to do that at that 20-year period. And I'm going to guess none of us, maybe Al will be here, but we'll be seated around this table.
Any other questions? Pete?
Yeah, first of all, I'm excited for this project. We definitely need more fields. Just a couple of questions. The 20-year length of agreement, do you know if that's intended just to match up with the term of the bond?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured it would be. All right, thank you. And then not only is there a lack of fields in Windham and the need for more fields, but there's also a need for lighted fields. Has there been any talk about any of the fields having lighting to be used at night to extend the life or the usefulness of them?
There has been discussion of that. However, it's not specific in this agreement, other than if there's lights added those fields, that the town would be the entity that would be paying for it. But if a group wanted to fundraise lights for those particular, I would say, a baseball field, softball field, and you actually could probably, you've got two that are close to each other, would be an easier one to do that would be a possibility. We'd obviously have to work with local landowners and others with that facility, but in essence, you are picking up, I mean, there's really one field there that's now a Little League field. The other one is an OK field, and helps to do that. The other thing I just want to add, which could be a benefit to us, if the North Windham Sewer Project does happen, and Manchester is an underground site for some of the water disposal, we would then work with Portland Water District, because right now, you may not realize it, but this whole section of the field, if you're out there on a summer day, you can actually see lines in the grass. That's the leach field for Manchester School. So in essence, if North Windham Sewer happens, we would be able to join into the sewer system, and then this all becomes buildable. And really, Manchester School, if you were to do any future development that I would see in the next 10 years, maybe a 4 or 6 classroom wing that would either come off of this area or this area, not having a leach field present there would be super helpful, because now we pick up space in order to be able to build in that location. But the town would be, they're looking to finalize this agreement within the next 30 days so that it can then go to their bond council, and then this process can start moving where they can secure the financing for the project. But it is an exciting addition. And if you drive up into the Manchester parking lot here, this set of fields that now would be where the woods are, there's a huge amount of space within this location. Also, if you drove by this summer, there were some excavators doing some test bores. Believe it or not, Manchester School, there's 38 feet of sand before you hit any sort of rocks here. This is a giant sand area, the entire Manchester campus. Probably also why nothing grows there as well.
Chris, I have a quick question. Have there been, with that egress road there, have there been any conversations about stopping that eventually becoming a, I don't want to sit in traffic and I want to zoom through over to 115?
So
that just looks concerning to me.
It is concerning, and we've asked Dwight, who has worked with us on other projects for parent pickup, drop-offs, traffic locations. Two concerns. One is people who would be just kind of skipping traffic and looking to go opposite that way, but also looking at ways that we can control speed during pickup, drop-off, so that we can make sure that kids are safe throughout that location. The other concern that we've shared with that egress spot is that to have shoulders that are wide enough that you can have cars that can park, so that we can pick up additional parking, because Manchester is not a huge parking lot, and especially if you're picking up 4 athletic fields here, you're going to start drawing some additional crowds. But Manchester's a tough campus anyway, traffic-wise, and so we're also looking at some possible improvements in the future with that bus drop-off lane and just trying to help ease traffic, because Danielle does a wonderful job of getting cars to queue in that spot, but it is a difficult spot.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Where this is going to be accessible to the public during non-school hours, who's going to be responsible for security?
Outside of school hours would be the town of Windham.
So I'm just, because, you know, it just seems to me that anybody going by the campus in South Windham would know that school property, you shouldn't be hanging around down there or loitering or whatever. But this is going to be more open and accessible to the public. So I'm just curious about how are we going to maintain security of the facility when it becomes open and more public and not just for school use?
I don't think it's going to be much different if you've ever been on the Windham High School campus on a Sunday, when, especially in the fall, when all the athletic activities are going on and every field's being used. I would imagine it would be like that, but we would, if anything, it might create some greater visibility on the campus because of the volume of people there versus now there just might be a couple people who are there just present. But yeah, it's a great question.
Anybody else? Jenny? So with the
what had been the former church, which is a historical building at this point, that is actually on RSU property. Is there an agreement already written up that we're not necessarily aware of, or should there be one? It has nothing to do with the construction, but just thinking about context.
I've asked the town manager to look into that because just historically, just remember 2009, 2010, the town of Wyndham signed over this property to the RSU. And so looking at whatever original agreements were done with that particular meeting house, just to see where it is. The other thing we're trying to figure out is, and there's a little brick house on an island, right, feel tethered by this. Oh, where am I? Right here. Okay, so here's the church. Here's the steeple now. Here's the church.
That's what I was thinking.
Here's the little island.
Yeah.
And there's a little brick house here.
Really?
And there's a matching brick house out behind Wyndham Town Hall, right by the water tower. We're kind of conjecturing that maybe Portland Water District maintained a well or some sort of water system in this area. But nobody quite knows, so we've actually asked for what's going on with that building because it is on RSU 14 property and we just don't know what it is. But I've asked the manager to look into this because I just don't know.
Anybody else? So I'm assuming that we will vote on this at the next meeting?
Yeah, so what I would like for the board to consider is voting at the February 2nd meeting.
Hang on just a minute. Thank you.
Public comment on it? It's on the agenda.
There would be public comment before the vote.
Before the vote.
Oh, all right now. Thank you.
So the February 2nd meeting?
February 2nd meeting, which is the next scheduled board meeting that the board will be taking a vote. And as part of that process, Ken, there would be a public comment period for the vote on that.
Okay, are we all set on that item?
Yep.
Excellent. Let's move to item number 9, District Strategic Plan Update. I will turn it over to Christine Frasbert-Nay and Mr. Howell. And I believe some members of the committee are here as well.
Yes, I was counting. We have 8 members of the committee here this evening, some joining virtually, I believe.
It's coming.
Always makes me nervous when there's a delay. So this evening, we're here to present an update on the strategic plan, the work of the district. We'll specifically laser in on, give you a little more about the committee members and the community stakeholders, the voices that were present in developing this work. We're going to talk a bit about each of the core beliefs and give you some examples of work that's currently unfolding at different schools and in different programs across the district. And then talk a bit about how we will, over the next 5 years, progress monitor to make sure that each of the action steps and strategic goals that we're really making progress over the 5-year period. So we will be sharing a bit about that. And then there'll be routine updates, as I understand, over the course of this strategic plan life that we'll be checking in and giving you those progress updates. So again, this work is really about examining, current practices in schools, the needs of students, looking at all children and whether or not our efforts are really meeting their needs and supporting the individual students that we serve. Here's the list of the strategic plan committee members. These are the people who are really driving a lot of the big work and the heavy lifting with a tremendous amount of input from community members and students and many stakeholders with different perspectives in this work. This is a long list and I hope you can see it. It is a smaller font, but I went through the document of the community voices that were invited, and many of whom participated in the community event at the beginning of this work, which led to the development of these core beliefs, these overarching understandings, if you will, and the work that will really drive our various projects and the focus of our work across the district. So the mission statement is here. We are committed to establishing a safe, supportive, and inclusive community, committed to developing strong partnerships in order to support every learner as they gain knowledge, skills, and character to thrive and contribute in an ever-changing, diverse world. And we're committed to fostering learner aspirations through engagement in authentic and diverse learning experiences. Jed shared some great examples earlier tonight of some of those authentic, project-based, real-world experiences that we know really get kids hooked into their learning and really committed to their learning. So we'll start with the core beliefs. There are 6 of them. The first one is equity and inclusion. We believe we have an ethical responsibility to ensure that every member of our school community feels safe, valued, and achieves in a learning environment that encourages diverse perspectives. And so I'm going to highlight a couple of examples, and in your board packets digitally, and for those who are watching tonight, you can see multiple examples, but we'll just highlight a couple from each. At a district level, we have people from all over the district participating, staff members in the Cultural Competence Institute team. That's work that's being led by Maine School Boards Association, Maine School Superintendents Association, and Maine School Management Association. Districts across the state of Maine with board members, community members, teachers, support staff, administrators, all participating in this cultural competence work. For example, at our last session, we were charged with questions around our district's efforts in response to the mental health needs of our students in our community and what we're doing to destigmatize mental health. Our efforts from a social emotional learning standpoint, making sure that the needs of kids are really being attended to. And another question that pushed us to think about wellness in our school districts. We've had conversations around poverty, around race, learning differences, trauma. So all of those conversations and that work, we're having those discussions with districts all over the state of Maine and thinking deeply about our practices and learning from each other. The other one I want to highlight, you'll notice here that we have 2 different examples, both at Windham High School and at Manchester Elementary School, civil rights training that's offered through the Maine Attorney General's office. They're participating in that kind of training, which supports the work of this core belief. The next core belief is whole child. We believe in supporting the unique social, emotional, and academic needs of all students. Some examples to share. I'd like to highlight the Katahdin program. We have Craig here tonight. They have added ceramics. They have added paid internships for seniors, as well as carpentry to their curriculum. So as you think of the whole child and diverse learning styles, interests, and needs, they're thinking about their programming and what they can do to enhance, add, to really hook all students into their educational program. I'd also like to go down the last one on the list, Raymond Elementary School. We also have Beth here tonight. An example of work in the whole child core belief area. They have social emotional learning, professional development for staff that's ongoing, school-wide social thinking curriculum that is taught in classrooms. They have school counselor lessons that are being taught, for example, eye care lessons and modifications of the mindful schools lessons, as well as school-wide mindfulness strategies. So a lot of work at that school is underway and has been for a number of years.
Is this me? So core belief number 3, student engagement. All students benefit when engaged in authentic, personalized learning experiences through multiple pathways that align with their strengths and interests. We believe in fostering creativity, risk-taking, and providing opportunities for students to reflect and revise. I'll get Christine, if you could just jump on.
Sorry.
That's okay. Wyndham High School, just a couple things we want to highlight, has reinstituted student summits, which Kelly DeVoe, who many remember Kelly, who was the assistant principal at Wyndham High School, was a huge advocate for student summits and giving opportunities for students to come together, discuss issues that they were seeing at the school, and work on some problem-solving strategies with that. Really engaging the kids to become part of owning their school and working to support that. And with Jordan Small staff working on guides for high-quality work, when projects are being incorporated in the curriculum. Jed, I'm glad that he's here tonight because that was actually, Jed has done a tremendous amount of work with different grade levels, looking at ways of bringing in project-based learning and tying it to the curriculum. Really creating lots of good hands-on opportunities for kids to experience curriculum, to build, to revise, to go through that process of really creating something, really doing a lot of work on this. I just also want to highlight both Wyndham Middle School and Jordan Small Middle School and Manchester School have been involved quite a bit in project-based learning and looking at how do we incorporate more projects so that, again, creating greater student engagement and working with students to make sure that they really feel connected to the curriculum and really pick up some lifelong skills beyond just book learning that might happen in the classroom. Core Belief 4, staff engagement, development of a shared leadership model. So just not only work in this plan working on student engagement, but staff as well. Shared leadership model, highly invested staff. We're committed to providing robust and differentiated professional development, lead development of staff expertise, and high levels of student success. A group that we don't often talk about, Adult Ed. Our Adult Ed, which is a vibrant, active part of RSU 14. Staff completed the National Leadership Excellence and Development Institute. And then 2 work enrolled in Teaching Skills That Matter training, looking at ways that they can further the development. And then Manchester, somebody's phone is ringing. The work that they've done to create very strong PLCs and professional learning communities, and it is student-driven, staff-driven professional development, staff-driven work on projects, really owning the group of kids that they have, looking at their data and looking at ways that they can influence their instruction together as a team. So some great work going on there. Danielle, glad that you're here tonight. But really strong PLC work, which has been a hallmark of Manchester School now for quite a while. All right, Core Belief 5, community engagement. This was always a favorite of mine for Wyndham High School. I believe it takes a community of collaborative partners to foster civic-minded students who are contributing to local, national, and global community. We strive to build relevant and engaging partnerships. So, number one, for those of you who had a chance to attend, the district had we sponsored the Mental Health Summit for all community members. We did a day in which was for the community, and we did a day for our RSU 14 staff. Just a great connection for that engagement. Wyndham Middle School, the partnerships with St. Joe's, Portland Water District, Coast Guard, worked with various Portland businesses in October on the staff project-based learning that they did. And also just to throw out there for Wyndham High School, kids that are working now on their capstone project and looking at making those community connections, and Lorraine and her work that's really looking at connecting more and more businesses with with Wyndham High School and connecting kids to greater projects and opportunities that they might have there out in the community. And on my 6 for transferable skills, design of an educational system that leads to productive, resilient, innovative, and empathetic citizens.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Again, Jordan Small, project-based learning that they've done, common language for collaboration, definite transferable skill. Some of the STEM projects that are happening, Wyndham Primary School, Wyndham Middle School, Jordan Small. We have at RES the Pre-K for Me and K for Me. You know, just an absolutely wonderful first year of Pre-K. Student learning through centers where they're picking up lifelong skills. And for those of you who have not had a chance to visit the hands-on learning component of a Pre-K classroom, I challenge you to take some time to go visit one of those classrooms. They are amazing centers for learning. And we have kids that are doing some wonderful things and the staff that are doing wonderful things with kids there.
So this next part is how we'll monitor our progress. So there's two overarching questions that I think will help you understand the work we'll do that's embedded in this spreadsheet I'm going to click on. First is how will we know when we've achieved our goals? We have many strategic goals within each of the core beliefs. We have many action steps. Some new action steps may emerge as the work evolves over the 5-year period. But how do we monitor our growth toward each of those goals? So in working with Michelle Milstein from Great Schools Partnership, you'll see here, this is core belief 1. This is an example of how we'll monitor our work. So we have each of the specific strategies, and for those of you who can't see this, you can certainly go to the district website and see the full strategic plan with specific action steps, strategic goals, all of that information. But you'll see as we break down each of these goals, each school or program is represented, and they can go in and say whether the goal is in progress, not started, not applicable perhaps to their program, although that's not real common, or that they've completed the goal. So I'll click through, and you'll notice that in some areas in the green, some programs have already completed some of the action steps. You would expect to see year 1 of a 5-year strategic plan. A lot of this will be yellow, in progress, or it might be that somebody has not started, which is pink. The school is not working on that at this time. The schools aligned their school goals with the strategic plan goals. They may laser in on a core belief or 2 or some goals within a given year, and over the course of the 5 years they'll be working on all of those. So that's why you might see a school that has not started a core belief. So this is a tool that we're using so that when we check in as an administrative team, we can monitor our progress. If, for example, Craig shares something that's happening in the Katahdin program, that's an area that maybe Danielle hasn't thought about much with her staff yet, and she hears something that Craig has shared, there's an opportunity for collaboration between the two. So this serves multiple purposes for us. Let me go back here. So I wanted to go back, I forgot to discuss something that's come up frequently, the word equity, and I wanted to define that. So I'm going to go back to that slide, because the statements emerge, these core belief statements really came out of our work, conversations, feedback from the community, feedback from students, and we crafted these belief statements, our beliefs as educators. So I think when we talk about beliefs and or the word equity, we're really thinking about what it means in terms of educational equity, as I think there are other definitions that maybe are out there and different understandings. So I'm going to read what I wrote down here. In terms of educational equity in RSU 14, it means that each child receives what they need to develop to their full academic and social potential. Working towards equity in schools involves ensuring equally high outcomes for all participants in our educational system, removing the predictability of success or failures that currently correlates with any social or cultural factor, interrupting inequitable practices, examining biases and creating inclusive, multicultural school environments for adults and children, and discovering and cultivating the unique gifts, talents, and interests that every human possesses. So educational equity is about examining the individual unique needs of students and developing programs and allocating resources to meet their individual needs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so we will, again, I'm going to head to the end here. If people are interested, if you head to the district site, you'll see the full strategic plan. If you have a QR code, you'll be able to see this. It will be online as well, and you can laser right in on that plan and certainly reach out with questions. We'll have additional updates down the road as our work progresses.
Any questions? Scott?
I've got a couple of questions and then a couple of comments. So I'm just going to kind of go right down through the list. Core belief number 1. I noticed you had it broken down pretty nicely for us. I noticed Manchester school-wide inclusion social skills SMART goal, and I saw SMART goal on number 4 as well. Can you explain what SMART goal means?
And I apologize for the alphabet soup here, the acronyms, but to save space and get it all on one. SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Sometimes people change out the letters for different terms that mean similar things, but it's setting a goal, Scott, that has a time frame, a limit. We will do this by this time with this level of at this level of proficiency.
Okay. What happens if you don't meet that time frame?
Sometimes you're working with a team and you have to adjust your time frame because perhaps it was too lofty, and so you make an adjustment. But
you will make an adjustment because some kids don't learn at the same pace, so you want to be equitable with that, right?
You would make an adjustment as needed, right?
Perfect. Core belief number 2. RES, I happen to notice eye care and mindful lessons. Can you elaborate on that part for me, please?
I can, but since Mrs. Peavy is here, you also.
I thought I was just going to be an active listener today. So eye care lessons have always been at RES, and it's lessons with an eye care kitty cat, and it's our 5 hands are for helping. We use eye care language. It's basically our rules of our school. So given school children, we have quite a few students now, pre-K through 2nd grade, that have not been in school fully in the past 2 years. We have really focused on reteaching those lessons. We were able to, provide those basic lessons at the beginning of the year, but we found that coming back into school this year that we really needed to spend time bringing us back to our core beliefs of our school and what helps our students to know what the rules are in the school and how to function in the school and how to be an active community member in the school. So that was a highlight this year. We have been for the past few years doing mindfulness strategies, just teaching. It's basically for students to learn ways to be more mindful of how their reactions are and strategies on how to calm down and taking a moment when they are heightened with emotions. And that happens a lot in school, because school can be difficult at times and challenging, or just even social skills. That's where we're seeing it right now, is how we engage with others. When you haven't been with students like last year, you're separated out and now we're together. How do we interact with peers that might be annoying us? And so instead of getting angry or screaming, let's take a deep breath, counting, using our words. So those are what we've really put a focus on this year. And Mindful Schools is a program, but my school counselor has modified that program to fit the schedule because part of her time is also meeting with students.
Okay.
Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you very much. May I keep going?
Please.
All right. Core belief number 3, Wyndham Primary School. I happen to notice multiple pathways. I think that is awesome. I think that there are multiple learners out there that learn different ways. Honestly, I can't tell you how frustrating it is as a parent when a kid is learning long division and they're trying to do it a completely different way than I know how, and I actually have to YouTube how they're doing it. So I very much encourage multiple pathways. I think that's awesome, so I just wanted to say I think that's great. Core belief number 5. I'm just going to run right through it if you're cool with this.
Go with it. Go with it.
RES, bringing back mad science, awesome. I think that's fantastic. I really do appreciate the science and the interaction that those kids have with that type of program, playing with chemistry sets and whatnot. So I think that that's great that we're starting to bring that stuff back. Core belief number 6. Wyndham Primary School, multiple Odyssey of the Mind teams. What is that?
I'll do my best with who. Go ahead.
No, you're
Do you want to do it?
Well, Odyssey of the Mind is something that's quite popular across the nation, actually, but certainly in Maine. Odyssey of the Mind is where children drive these, they have a problem, they choose different categories. It may be a theater, arts-based problem that they're tackling. It might be an engineering problem that they're tackling, where they're building a bridge. I'm remembering back to a project years ago. And you have a coach, much like you would on an athletic team. The coach really is there to guide, but the students drive the problem solving. Teams compete at the state level and then sometimes make it to the national competition, but it's great to have these teams. It's very creative, practical problem solving, development of interpersonal skills. It's a wonderful opportunity for children.
Okay. All right. And then I think the last thing that I just want to comment on is I really like the fact that there is the progress monitoring that is available for everybody to kind of take a look at and view and track that progress. So thank you for that transparency. That's all I have.
That's it. All right, I've got a question. It's my understanding that this was basically developed prior to COVID, the majority of the work. So what kind of adjustments, if any, have we made since the onset of COVID to help maybe steer the path towards focusing on learning loss and recovery from learning loss and things of that nature? Have we done any work towards that to adjust?
Well, in terms of the strategic, there are elements in the strategic plan that address academic performance intervention supports that are in place. So that would get to what I think you're talking about, is what are we doing to assess the impact of COVID on potential learning loss and our efforts to intervene. Currently, Christine Hessler and Lisa Garno and I are meeting with RTI, which is response to intervention, groups of teachers that are examining what the needs are academically or social, emotionally, behaviorally. But specifically academically, as we meet with these teams, we're looking at what their needs are, how they're assessing student progress, what they're doing to intervene, what programs are being used. So we're in the process of that right now. But there are many specific action steps that support that learning loss review and attention.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is, there's action steps within the plan that
There are. We could present an update about that down the road if that would be helpful, to just specifically look at aspects of learning loss within the plan.
All right, thank you. And then I'm just going to make a comment on equity, since it is kind of a hot topic and a buzzword. And when I hear that word, I get a little uncomfortable with it too, because when I think of equity, when you presented the strategic plan for the first time, you had a little cartoon that you showed, people looking over the fence, and everybody had crates or whatever, and at the end the crates were given to the shortest person so that they could look over the fence, which is great in theory, but when I think of equity, I don't want our direction to be everybody ends up in the same place. I still want to make sure that we're giving resources to all students so that they can, equal opportunity is what I'm striving for, and not necessarily equal outcome, just so that we can push our kids to be all that they can.
And yeah. Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to.
No, I'm done. That's just a comment.
That was well said. I think it's about helping, and that's what we highlighted earlier on that slide about helping each child reach their maximum potential, whatever that is, and really giving them the resources they need to thrive in the educational setting.
Thank you.
It doesn't look the same for everyone.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have 2 comments. I guess I'll jump on the train of equity, and I do really like to see that because I think a lot of new math programs and curriculums are all focusing on consistency. And I know in my experience, not everybody needs to learn math the same way. There are a bunch of different ways to learn things. And I know even this past week, I was learning a new thing in math, and there were 2 different ways to do it. And the curriculum and the book says, you need to know how to do both of these ways. And the teacher was like, one of these ways is really easy and one of these ways is really hard. So if you know how to do the easy way, that's great. Some people get it the other way. And I think that's really important. And the other thing that was mentioned a lot was project-based learning. And I had a lot of experience with that at Jordan Small Middle School. And I think that's incredibly important because you have kids who learn how to use critical thinking skills and creativity. And I know now in high school, in harder courses like physics, and I'm presented with a problem, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at, I can use the skills that I learned in 6th grade about building a bridge and apply them to my harder skills later in life. So I think both of those are really awesome to see.
Thank you. It's great to hear the student perspective on this plan. Anybody else? No? Thank you very much for that presentation. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to item number 10, policies. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the second reading of policy FB, construction site protocol.
Second.
Any public comment? Any board discussion? All those in...
Is that public comment on the presentation or the next thing?
It's specific to this policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no public comment on...
No, not at this time. Board discussion. Well, first, any public comment on the construction site protocol?
Oh, the construction site? Oh, yeah. Field? Yeah.
No. This is on the, no. It sounds like it might be, but it's not. This is specific to a policy, FE, and the title of the policy is construction site protocol. So it's really, we're doing this because we're building a new building, and this is how we're going to proceed with people coming on site and so forth and so on. I'm sorry for the confusion. Board comment, I see none. All those in favor? Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the second reading of policy FF, naming schools.
Second.
Any public comment? Any board discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item number 3.
I move to approve the second reading of policy DJ-R, purchase regulations.
Second.
Any public comment? Board discussion? All those in favor? Oops, I raised my hand. Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the first reading of FB, facilities planning.
Second. Thank you. Public comment. Board discussion. This is, as it says, facilities planning. Again, because of the middle school project and what we're doing so far as a building committee dovetails very nicely with what is occurring in this policy. So we just thought it would be important to have this on the books, and so this is how we're proceeding. Any other board discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item number 11, report of the secretary.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 15th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Any public comment? Board discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item number 2.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 5th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Any public comment? Board discussion?
There was a correction for the day of the week for the curriculum committee from Wednesday to Thursday. I emailed Christine before, So it's not printed with Thursday in here, but it's been correct.
It's changed digitally. Just, she had, I guess, it already printed, but that's all set. Thank you.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
So it's officially correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Committee reports. I'm going to start with our intrepid student rep.
The only real update I have is that this week and ending on Tuesday of next week is midterms week at the high school. So we haven't had midterms, or half of the school has never had a midterm, which is super new, and my grade has never had a final either. So it's super great to see midterms coming back, because it's a really great way to prepare students for their future life. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Finance?
Finance met last night, but the contents of the meeting is for executive session tonight.
Thank you. Facilities?
Facilities has not met. Middle school building committee is meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. via Zoom.
Great, thank you. Curriculum?
Yep. We met last Thursday. We got an update regarding the mathematics program and information about the handwriting curriculum and the needs that are out there for our students. Very interesting, and we're going to be coming up with an agenda and our next meeting date in the next couple of weeks for the next month or so.
Perfect, thank you. Where am I? Adult ed? Who is adult ed?
There's been no meeting.
Okay.
You are.
And so we got an email that they're setting up something in the next couple of weeks, but I didn't get a chance to read the email before I went out.
There is nothing, they haven't done it yet.
All right. Checking you off. And then finally, policy met. What did I forget? Vote.
Yep, vocational school. Okay, I'm going to give you the cliff notes, and as usual, when I receive the minutes from both of them, I send the full meetings out, minute meetings out. It's been a while since we met. In PATHs, there is a new CTE semester program for 9th and 10th grades, which allows them to experience all programs, which I really laughed at, because this is what my kids had when they were in high school, when you got to go to the vocational and try out in a younger grade, so that you had a better idea of what you would be. You couldn't go till 11th or 12th, and so you'd have much better idea what does it look like. So that's great. PATHs is also using their MELMAC grant funds to recognize students in each of the programs. Their funds are usually used for college visits, but with the pandemic, a lot of stuff is on Zoom now, so there hasn't been a lot of that. So the MELMAC Foundation has allowed them to use the grant to help recognize students rather than, just keeping the money there. Students that are going are still receiving their certifications for whatever programs they're in. Chris, anything I missed, just jump right in. PATHs has also received a $50,000 donation for students in the building trades, and I did not write the name of the company that donated it, but it was very kind of them. It was from a construction company, probably local.
I can't remember who it was, but
I don't
I know it
remember
was
who it
going
was.
to tools and other scholarships for kids.
But it will be, when I send you the minutes, that will be in the minutes. They did have a meeting with the guidance counselors from the sending schools to review the best ways to select students for each program. And because right now, and that is for both schools, they're looking for input from the guidance counselors, because what's been happening is the students come for a visit, or they have their review or whatever, and there's only so many slots per student per district, and they've had a lot of instances where students sign up for something and then they find out it's not what they thought it was, which hopefully the other one's going to help a little bit. But if they want to get a lot more guidance from the counselor, because they feel the counselors know these students better than they do, because they really have only met them once when they interviewed or when they went to the school. So they're hoping to get a lot more input from the counselors, and that's for both schools. Recruiting for both schools has started, and all the interviews are virtual. Westbrook Regional Vocational School also received a $9,850 donation for their cosmetology program, and they're ready to start the program. They were very thrilled getting this ready because of the type of school they are. It was easy to get the area prepared. They used their own students in the building trades and so forth, and the electrical to get everything set up, which is good. And they are going to have what they're going to call it, rather than a semester program, a Tech Start, which has 16 programs for students to sample. Zoom meetings are very unique in the fact you don't get as much detail as when you sat there before. I don't know, I think everybody figures you better rush and do it. So trying to take notes and whatever, and it's kind of like, and they go past the question things quick. So when I get the minutes, I will forward them out to everybody, and you can read the full minutes.
Well, I think despite Zoom, you did pretty good. Nice job.
I think Marge's report really captured everything, because Marge is right. It moved very quickly, and I think between the two vocational centers, which used to be a 2 to 3 hour meeting, was 20 minutes.
It was quick. It was quick.
So it was quick. I mean,
it's quick, and then it's done.
Well, thank you for that update. And just briefly for policy, we met a week ago Monday with the Police Department of Wyndham to go over their intention to move forward with body cams on their police, and just kind of fleshed out how that might impact the school department with our SRO. And so there's more work to be done. They're checking with their legal to fine tune it, and then we'll meet again and proceed. So that's that. Did I miss anybody else?
Can I ask a question on that one?
Yep.
Particular one? And I assume that's being looked at is, there's always confidentiality type stuff, and a lot of, with minors, with students.
Yep,
So-
part of the discussion.
Yeah, I thought.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes our public section. If I may have a motion to go into executive session, please.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss RSU 14 contract negotiations with the RSU 14 Board of Directors pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056D.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much for attending and watching, and good night.